You are losing every single time you leave a relationship or a situationship because you are too focused on whatever he's up to. You need to start bringing that energy back to yourself. To focus less on whatever he has going on so that you can be the main character of your own life. Welcome back to another episode of Way Too Wifey. I'm your host, respectfully Gabby, and in this podcast, we talk all things dating and relationships in this modern day. And if you are new here, hi, I'm Gabby. I'm an online dating and confidence coach where I help you transform your confidence from a really insecure spot to a more secure and grounded spot. If this sounds like something that you might benefit from, I have a few different options that you can choose from in the stand link in my bio. So go ahead and navigate over there. I do one-on-one coaching, group coaching. You can write in to any problem. I also do one session if you're just like, I want to test this out. I have a situation that I want to work through. Whatever the case is, I'm here for you. But I don't want to get too far into that. I also have a book, Way Too Wifey, The Anxious Attachment Girl's Guide to Love. So if that sounds like something that you might be able to benefit from, I have heard some really good feedback, and thank you guys so much for picking up my book. I honestly sometimes forget that because it was partially like a personal diary. Really, thank you so much. If you've picked up a copy, please DM me. Let me know what your thoughts are. If you absolutely hate it and you think I could do better, DM me that too. I honestly want to know all the feedback. I also don't get offended very easily, so I can take the criticism. But yeah, honestly, if you've picked it up, I'm really curious to hear your thoughts. But besides that, guys, hit the follow on Instagram, on TikTok at Respectfully Gabby. Let's get into the episode. This is really difficult for me. Not difficult, but I feel like the reason why I want to talk about this, I have so many clients, guys, so many clients that will call in and want to know what's going on with him, trying to understand what he is up to, trying to understand his mind, what went wrong. This is not just like a onesie, twosie. This is like a majority of the calls that I have that are like single calls, like one-off calls that aren't in my program, revolve around him. About what he's up to, what he's doing, why did he do this, I'm trying to understand his brain, I'm trying to understand his mind, and trust me, I get it. It is actually a mind game trying to figure out what someone is up to. It is, and it's so normal, it's so natural to be like, you know what, I don't actually have any control over this. Like I want to know, I want to figure out so that I can do better. I want to know what's going on with him. I want to know it's not a me thing. I want to know what I did wrong. Your mind, the overthinking, the outside noise is so loud because you're putting the focus on something that you have no control over at all. And so let's talk about actually where this stems from. When you are so focused on trying to understand him and what he has going on, trust me, I get that that's it's a natural thing, especially if you have anxious attachment, because typically when you have anxious attachment, your type of person is usually the avoidant, which is the most confusing type of person to understand. So you constantly get into the same cycle of attracting the same people who give you this hot and heavy energy. The connection is amazing and everything is beautiful. And trust me, I can break down in less than 5 minutes exactly what's probably going through his mind. But what is that doing for you to figure out? The reason why we tried to understand what's going on with them is because it gives us this false sense of control over the situation. And when you have anxious attachment, when you have anxiety, period, that number one thing that we cling on to is how to control the situation at hand. You want to feel in control of your life, and it is so difficult when it comes to love because you can't control another person. And I think the more that you try to control and try to figure out what's going on with them and try to put the pieces together so it works, so that you're happy and your body's at ease, the more you're trying to force something to work that was never meant to actually seriously work. When you have anxious attachment, that hypervigilance of trying to understand every little micro movement, every change in their personality, you're trying to dissect their behavior to why they're doing certain things that they're doing. And it becomes exhausting because let's face the actual truth, you're never going to know what's going on in someone else's mind. You might think you know, you might come to the conclusion because X plus Y equals Z. It doesn't, but you might think you have the conclusion because it seems like that would seem right. But do you actually know what's going on in someone's head? No, unless you're like a psychic and you can read people's minds. You don't know what's going on in someone else's mind. So the more you try to understand and seek that from them of like, okay, what are you thinking about? What are you up to? What are you doing? You're only like exhausting yourself because you're never going to actually know. And even if they're like, no, everything's fine. No, everything's good. Nothing has changed. You know, deep down that they're not giving you the actual truth because their behavior has changed. That sets you off even more into overthinking and overanalyzing. And what is the truth? Some things are not meant for you to understand. And it feels good. It feels like this form of protection that your mind is trying to understand what's going on with him so that you can get that closure from the situation at the very least, or you can try to change your ways so that the situation can work out. But you're not actually doing yourself a service. And when you over focus on him, you're actually neglecting your own needs, your own fears, and your own boundaries because you want to please this other person and you want to appease the situation into making it this happy place where both of you can survive. When you're neglecting your own needs and you're pouring into whatever is going on with them, that's direct form of self-abandonment. It is so normal for an anxious attacher to self-abandon because we want to keep the situation at peace. You want to try to ease your nervous system. So you want to try to understand what's going on with them so that you can be the perfect person for them. But what are you getting out of this? You're actually not getting anything out of this because your needs are not being met. You feel anxious all the time. You're pretending that everything is okay. You are an anxious mess, whether they're texting you or whether they're not. And then the second that they text you, it's like a sigh of relief. Do you really want to feel like you're walking on eggshells in a relationship? It's not worth it, guys. And the more that you realize in the very, very, very early stages before you attach any type of feelings to it at all, a reminder for me as well, because I don't think if you have anxious attachment, that can get triggered depending on who you decide. And yes, there's ways to ease that anxiety, to regulate your nervous system. And I think that's extremely important to understand and realize. But I also think the people that you choose, they're going to either give you this safe space for you to feel comfortable in the relationship and at ease, or they're going to give you this chaos, unpredictable environment that you need to live in that will trigger that anxious attachment. And the more that you're triggered by someone's behavior, and I catch this very early on now in my body, of if someone is coming to me and I feel some type of way and everything at first feels like this amazing connection, everything's good. In these situations, you're basing most of your decisions based off of that feeling, of that addiction, that draw to that person, that really deep, crazy connection. Yes, of course it feels good. Of course it feels good, but it's always the intoxicating, avoidant man who gives you that rush of feelings. It's never the safe person. Your body is used to this chaos, so you tend to go for this chaos, and then you get surprised when the guy who was love bombing you isn't actually who he sold himself to be. Like, of course, that behavior no one can sustain. When you're going from 100, the only way to go is down. He's not going to give you that same energy consistently through the course of a relationship. It's never going to be, if he's starting off hot, heavy, strong, connection is 10 out of 10, the only way you can go from there is down. It's always the slow burns that actually end up working out long term. You took the time to actually build a foundation instead of going from 100 to, okay, where do we go from here? We're crashing until it explodes at the bottom. And I think another thing that I have realized in a lot of anxious attachment clients that I have, most of them, really all of them, is that you get stuck in this decoding kind of behavior of, okay, well, maybe he's just scared. Maybe he's doing this. And then you start making excuses for his behavior instead of saying, what am I getting out of this? It's like, I hear this all the time of, okay, well, he just is so busy at work, so, it's fine. Well, he has this family problem that he's working through. Like, his dad's in bad shape. His grandpa just passed away. His whatever just happened. His mom's dealing with some kind of ailment with her left kidney. I don't know what it is, but I'm saying that, like, we tend to give these people excuses because we want to be caring, we want to be understanding, we want to give them the benefit of the doubt. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. But if you're neglecting your own needs in the process and thinking like, okay, well, I'm not getting my emotional needs met. And if you know to your core that you would still give that other person a call, a text, a check-in at the very least when you're going through all of this stuff, then I think you need to be real with yourself of like, if you're willing to do that, then what is really the excuse from him? Your emotional needs are not being met here. And you can try to hide them and say, oh no, it's fine, everything's good. Like, I barely feel anxious anymore. Like, no, I'm managing my anxiety. I'm not acting out on it. I hear this all the time too of like, well, I'm not reacting. Even if you're not reacting, that person can still feel your energy and the anxiety and the trying to hold it together. And, I'm still here for you. I understand what you're going through, and constantly at his beck and call. If a man really wanted you in his life, it would be through the hard times and the good times. Okay. And we need to get so radically honest and turned off by his behavior. I remember that I had talked to this guy in London, and I actually read about him in the book. It's Lover Girl in the City chapter. And I truly, really liked this man a lot. And I knew there was a connection there. We had nothing but great times together. And everything was great until it wasn't. And then he pulled away and he completely disappeared on me. And I was like, what just happened? I'm so confused. But he was very avoidant. And I kept making excuses. Okay, well, he's avoidant. His grandpa had just passed away, so I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt. He's working through some stuff. And as much as I wanted to be there during this time, he was not allowing me to be there during this time. And sometimes you just have to leave people where they're at. And it sucks, and you want to be there, and you're like, well, they should want to someone to lean on. Like, I'm here for that. Like, let me be the person for you. And trust me, I get that. And I had used that as an excuse for him as to why he couldn't show up for me. And I had made a TikTok video about it. And I'm like, oh, I'm so understanding. Look, this is how I responded. I gave him the benefit of the doubt. And you know what? And now he's asked me out on another date. Guess what? By the way, that happened after that. He completely disappeared again. And I never heard from him again. But he completely disappeared on me. Ended up blocking me out of nowhere. I was nothing but understanding during your grandpa situation, and I'm trying to be there for you. I'm trying to be understanding and caring. Why won't you let me be that? And I had to come to terms with myself. He doesn't care that much, and we have to be so honest with ourselves. This is a grown adult man. He doesn't need to be handheld with his emotions. The reality is that he didn't want me to be there for him during this. And fine, that's cool. But for me to continue to insert myself and try to be understanding about it, no, honestly, you're dealing with stuff. I get it. It's fine. I don't need to be there for that. I'm going to move on with my own life because you're clearly not allowing me into your sphere. But I don't also need to wait around and well, he's doing this and make excuses for his behavior as to why he can't even send me a text back that, hey, this is what's going on. I'm really sorry. I'm overwhelmed right now. I just need my space. Instead of sending that and giving me a little bit of peace, he completely ghosted and pretended as if I never existed. Grown men do not need to be handheld, okay? They're gonna act however they're gonna act, and sometimes they're gonna act like children. And trust me, it's more often than not. And the more emotions that come up, yes, a lot of men just tend to shut down. It's normal. It's not normal, but it's natural for a lot of men to just completely shut down and not have any type of experience, any type of emotions whatsoever. But while you're stuck trying to figure out what's going on with him and making excuses for him, you fail to ask yourself the question, well, how do I feel? How am I okay with it? Why am I tolerating someone to treat me with the bare minimum when I know that I want more and I want more connection and more peace with someone? I know that I don't deserve this. So why am I continuing to settle for it? And why am I continuing to make excuses for his poor choices and his poor behavior? So shifting the question of why is he like this and why is he doing this, and questioning literally everything, going from that to why am I even tolerating this? Why do I think that this is okay? When you start to focus on yourself and you pour more of that energy into figuring out and healing that part of you that is rejecting yourself, you're only addicted to him because he's rejecting you, by the way. So when you stop rejecting yourself, I promise you that the people who are rejecting you are not that attractive anymore. They're not this like mystery that you want to figure out. Start healing yourself so that you stop falling for the guy who is giving you the bare minimum and you're turned off by his excuses or lack thereof and just ghosting and lack of accountability he's faced with, and you're making excuses that he's just too busy. I'm sorry, but I run my own business. I'm very busy on the day to day, and I still have time to text back someone if I really wanted to. I hate texting, but I really like someone, and if I really wanted to, I would text them back. So stop making excuses for them. I've had guys run multi-million-dollar companies and they're still texting me back because they still want to text me back. They still want to hear from me. So stop making excuses for this guy who's barely showing up for you and start being turned off by that behavior. So some powerful reframes that you can do is going from I don't need to understand him to decide that he's not for me. I get it. The connection is obviously there. The connection is intoxicating. The inconsistency is intoxicating. It's something that you're used to though. And sometimes we don't always go for what's good for us. We go for the familiar. Intoxicating love because it feels comfy. It feels familiar. It feels like every person that we've known before. But when you're choosing from a place of insecurity within yourself, because that's really what it is, and I'm not saying this to call anyone out because I've totally been there. But when you're choosing from a place of insecurity, you're gonna continue to attract the same types of people who don't give you that much, who are giving you breadcrumbs that you continue to feed into because you want to prove yourself worthy to this person who's rejecting you. And you're only addicted to them because they are rejecting you. It's this obsession that they're breeding. Rejection breeds obsession. Once you feel like they're slowly pulling away, slowly rejecting you, moving on from you, that's when you start to spiral and you try to understand everything. Once you actually get to a point where you're healing yourself, that addiction slowly starts to fade into, ew, this is really actually gross. Like this behavior is like a turnoff to me now in my life. When I see a guy that is giving me like the bare minimum, that is just not showing up for me, or like uses the work excuse, oh, I'm just so busy with work, I'm just turned off by it. I'm just like, okay, you do you, no worries, like get your bag. That has nothing to do with me. So if you don't want to pour into me while also working, trust me when I say it's your loss, because I will take the right man to the next level of success. Honestly, it's your loss, truly. If a man is working towards something and then they use the excuse as work, I'm like, that's such a cop-out, because trust me when I say that any man that decides to come into my life is going to be successful tenfold. I promise that, because the amount of support that I'm pouring into you, the amount of understanding that I will give, and the grace that I will give to you and your goals, endeavors, because I get it. I'm an entrepreneur myself. I have my own business. So if anyone, I get it. And I will be your biggest cheerleader in this if you allow me to. But if you want to use the excuse of I'm so busy with work, I just have so much going on, then by all means, you do you. If you think you can do this better by yourself, I'm not going to get in your way. And if you think you're better off on your own, then run with it, baby. I'm in the background cheering you from afar. But I also don't need to invest my energy in it. Know how much my energy will hit the right person. I'm saying all this anyway. I am just to the point where I'm just turned off by like the excuses, the lack thereof, the lack of accountability. I'm just not in the position to entertain that. You do you. If you feel like you have to make excuses and, oh my God, I'm just so busy, We're not busy for the things that we want to do. You will make time for the things that you find valuable. And if it's not me, then it's not me. And I'm not going to take that personally, because the right person is going to see the value the first time around. I don't have to convince anyone to see my value. Okay, I don't have time for that anymore. And if you don't see it, then get out of my way. Get out of my way. My husband is trying to step in. The right person, guys, is not going to feel like a puzzle. You don't need a PhD to try to figure out what's going on with him, because I'll be honest, this is probably what's going on with him. He's either not interested anymore. He's maybe moved on. He probably doesn't want a relationship, and maybe it's not even a you thing. Like, let's be so real. I think a lot of times we're like, oh, like, what did I do wrong? What did I do this? Sometimes it has nothing to do with you and everything to do with the fact that he saw you wanted a relationship. He's not ready for that. So he left it as it is. He doesn't want to waste your time anymore. He's moving on with his life. He doesn't want to hurt your feelings. He is so focused on other things. He doesn't feel like he's good enough for an actual loving, healthy relationship. Let him just do him. He's not there to figure out. There's so many things that could be happening. Maybe he's scared. Maybe he's a little scared and wants to run away, but you don't have to handhold him through it. He's a grown adult man. You don't have to handhold him through it. And if he really wanted the help, trust me when I say it probably wouldn't be from you. It would be from someone who is qualified to help. You don't need to play his mother. You don't need to play his therapist. You don't need to play his sponsor. Okay? Let him get the help that he needs to, so that he can be the type of man that is actually worthy of an amazing, great girl like you. But that is it for this week's episode. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you got some kind of value out of this. And if you have, leave that 5-star rating, leave that thumbs up, hit the subscribe button, turn on your bell notifications so you'll never miss another episode. And I will see you all next Tuesday.